Number 6. Pinocchio. Ah, Pinocchio. The heartwarming story of a puppet who wants to become a real boy just for his father. But along the way, he comes across all kinds of trouble. All kinds of sinister characters, such as the Fox and Cat, Stromboli, the Coachman, and who could forget the terrible dogfish? Or if you want to go down the Disney route, Monstro, the giant sperm whale. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Pleasure Island, the beautiful place with a dark secret. Children, or in this case boys who misbehave, are turned into donkeys, or to put it another way, make jackasses of themselves. But with the help of the Blue Fairy, alongside Jiminy Cricket, his conscience, Pinocchio is able to change his ways, learn a very valuable lesson, and thus he becomes a real boy. But in Carlo Collodi's original novel, The Adventures of Pinocchio, Pinocchio isn't just naive. He's mischievous, cruel, and disobedient. In the beginning of the story, Pinocchio kills Jiminy Cricket by throwing a hammer at him. And he even gets Geppetto, the man who made Pinocchio, arrested by claiming he's abusive. But we're only scratching the surface. The pure bottom of the barrel is where Pinocchio encounters the fox and the cat. They might be animals, but they are also depicted as con artists in the story, with the fox pretending to be dumb and the cat pretending to be blind. They trick Pinocchio into giving them all of his money, and in the end, they hang him. And that's where Collodi wanted his story to end. He wanted his book to serve as a warning to kids who choose to misbehave and not think about the potential consequences. But unfortunately, readers of the story didn't like that ending and insist that Collodi keep the story going. Thus, he created the fairy with the turquoise hair, who sets Pinocchio free and brings him back to life. Okay, on one hand, yes, it's important for kids to listen to their parents and other elders when they are told to do something by them. But on the other hand, using a puppet as an example and then killing him off? Talk about overkill. Pun not intended.
Number 5. Hansel and Gretel. The good old story of Hansel and Gretel, the story of two children who are in the forest. They come across a home made of candy, and then they toss a witch into a fire. What the fuck? Okay, yeah, even the classic story that we're all familiar with is kind of fucked up. But let's talk about the original origin, shall we? The story follows a little boy and girl named Hansel and Gretel who were living by a very large forest with their father and stepmother. The father was a woodcutter and made very little money, so he was stuck trying to support his family. Late one night, the stepmother comes up with this brilliant idea. Hey, let's abandon our kids in the forest at night and then just never come back for them. You stupid mother. But anyway, here's what else they did. Or actually no, here's the more heartbreaking thing about that. Hansel and Gretel, they were so hungry that they really weren't able to go to sleep at all. And unfortunately for the stepmother, they heard the entire plan. And while Gretel was crying, Hansel said, "Don't worry, little sister, I have an idea." So he basically grabbed some white pebbles that would shine in the moonlight, and they basically ended up using that to get back home. But of course, before this whole thing happened, the stepmother, of course, being the jerk that she is, decided, hey, I'm going to abandon you two in the forest while me and your father go off to get some firewood. I'm sure you all can guess what she did. Of course, she abandoned them, but, Hansel and Gretel found their way back, and the mother said... The mother decided to say, "Oh wow, you guys were asleep for so long, we thought you guys wanted to live in the forest." Well, stepmother, I only have one thing to describe you as.
You are twisted human filth.
And that's the nice version. But, anyway, well, you know what, as the story goes, Hansel and Gretel do eventually find, the witch's home. Well, after killing the stepmother. Jesus Christ. But anyway, they go to the witch's house and, well, obviously the witch ends up dying. I mean, she kind of has to. But, yeah, after talking about this, let's go on to the next one. I'm sure it won't piss me off any harder.
Number 4. Cinderella. The story of a girl who's forced to become a servant by her wicked stepmother and ugly stepsisters. Eventually, when the ball comes around, Cinderella meets her fairy godmother, who grants her wish of going to the ball and meeting Prince Charming, with a pumpkin-turned carriage, mice-turned horses, and a beautiful silver gown complemented with glass slippers. But when the clock strikes midnight, everything goes back to how it was before. As Cinderella escapes the palace, she leaves one of her glass slippers behind. When the prince comes across the slipper, he is determined to find out who the mystery girl is and make her his bride. How does he do that? Simple. He asks all the maidens in the land to try on the glass slipper, and whoever's foot fits into the shoe, she shall be the one the prince marries. However, that's not how the original Grimm fairy tale went. The version we all know is based on the adaptation by French author Charles Perrault. The original Grimm's fairy tale was called Aschenputtel. This version of the story has no fairy godmother, or pumpkin-turned carriage, or even glass slippers. Also, Cinderella's father is still alive, but sadly, he does not stand up for his only daughter when she is being mistreated by her stepmother and stepsisters. One day, he went to a small fair, and when he returned, he gave his 3 daughters gifts. The first one got pearls and jewels. The second one got a beautiful dress. And all Cinderella had was a branch that knocked against her father's hat. She planted the branch on her mother's grave, and she cried so much that her tears watered the branch, and it grew into a beautiful and magical tree. Not only that, but 2 white doves found the tree and made it their home, and they even befriended Cinderella, granting her every wish. How, you ask? By throwing it down from the tree. Apparently, since the tree is magical, it can hide all sorts of wonderful surprises, such as jewels, clothes, you name it. Instead of a ball, a 3-day festival is held in honor of the prince. But Cinderella's stepmother said that she cannot go because she has no nice clothes and can't dance. Everyone will laugh at her. But Cinderella is persistent. So the stepmother orders Cinderella to remove all of the lentils from the fireplace. If she does, then she can go. And with the help of her bird friends, Cinderella manages to pick out all the lentils from the fireplace. But unfortunately, the stepmother goes back on her word and tells Cinderella that she cannot go to the festival. But the birds take pity on Cinderella and tell her that she should go, no matter what her stepmother says. So Cinderella heads for the tree and says the following: "Shiver and quiver, my little tree, silver and gold throw down over me. And with that, Cinderella is granted a beautiful gold and silver gown, complemented with shoes embroidered with silk and silver. Of course, when she arrives at the festival, her stepmother and stepsisters don't recognize her because she's become so beautiful and believe that she is a princess from a foreign land. And when the prince saw her, he was enamored by her beauty, and the two danced together all evening. This continued for the next few days, and eventually, the prince was curious to see who Cinderella really was. But she would always run home before he could even get the chance. So on the third and final day, the prince came up with a plan. He ordered his servants to cover the stairs with resin so that she would not be able to escape. But sadly, she did. However, she had left one of her shoes behind. The shoe itself was made of pure gold, and the prince vowed that he would try the shoe on every maiden in the land until he's found his bride-to-be. After many days of trying the shoe on many maidens and failing, he arrives at Cinderella's house. The stepsisters were more than happy to try on the shoe. It was the first stepsister's turn. She could fit her heel in, but not her big toe. So her mother hands her a knife and demands she cut off her big toe, saying that when she becomes queen, she will never have to go anywhere on foot. So, the girl cut off her toe and forced her foot into the shoe. However, as she and the prince were headed to his castle, the two birds immediately realized that there was something wrong, and they cried out, "Turn and peep! Turn and peep! There's blood within the shoe! The shoe, it is too small for her! The true bride waits for you!" The prince does in fact discover that he has been tricked, and he's not happy. So they return back to Cinderella's house, and now the second sister is the one to try on the shoe. She can get all of her toes in, but not her heel. So her mother gives her a knife and tells her the same thing. The second stepsister cut off part of her heel and forced her shoe into the slipper. And the same thing happened. The birds called out to the prince, and he returned her to the palace. With nowhere to go, the stepmother called Cinderella downstairs. And when she put her foot into the shoe, it fit perfectly. The birds were happy and cried out, "Turn and peep! Turn and peep! No blood is in the shoe! The shoe is not too small for her! The true bride rides with you!" Yes, Cinderella and the prince were happily married. After finding out that she had become rich, Cinderella's stepsisters try to get on her good side. They start acting like they were in the wrong when they mistreated her. But the birds quickly saw through their facade, and as punishment, they pecked out the eyes of both the stepsisters, leaving them blind forever. I really want to apologize for how long this explanation was, but there were a lot of things to talk about in the original Cinderella story, or rather, the original Aschenputtel story.